Welcome to DC Conversations. We actually start off with the conversation, I wanted you to talk a little about Shakti.
Sure. Yes, so Shakti is a feature film that I just completed, and we have just started the festival journey. So in October, we had our world premiere at Heartland Film Festival in the US, and we've since been going to multiple cities. We're at IFI Goa, that was our South Asian and international premiere last week. And it's been an incredible response. The film is centered around a single mother and her fight for justice in Nepal. And yeah, the response has been really immense from people, audiences coming up to me personally, and people opening up about their own stories. And yeah, I think it's really the right time to be making a film about creating change in Nepal, but also making a kind of ripple effect around the world.
Also, your movie was recently screened at IFFI Goa in India,
Yes.
especially at its South Asian regional premiere. What does it mean to you to bring Shakti to India?
It means so much because the story is grounded so much in the subcontinent, in our culture, in our kind of traditions, but also some of the really difficult things that are happening, especially, around kind of women and Dalit women, so women who are very much at the kind of underrepresented and marginalized areas of society. And so for me, bringing the film back home is so important because this is where it really is felt deeply. And I could really sense that with the audience. For instance, many, many people came up to me after the film
Hmm.
because it had resonated so deeply with them.
What do you think about the film themes of gender and caste inequality? I mean, resonated with the Indian audience, given, its proximity and parallels to Nepal.
Yes. Well, I think that, we're all kind of living under these systems that are much bigger than an individual, but also the film really looks at how that system impacts an individual's experience.
Mm.
And so I think that, it's time for us to start considering and really think about how do we want future generations to be living? Is it with this type of separation and a hierarchy, or is it in a kind of community where we're respecting one another?
Yeah. So, in what ways does Shakti reflect the political and social awakening unfolding in Nepal right now?
Yes, well, I mean, it was such an incredible, for me, realization that when we had just started releasing Shakti, there
Mm.
was this big uprising in Nepal. And so really a lot of what the youth is doing and speaking about and wanting change against the corruption in Nepal is very much also what the film is aligned with, because the characters in the film are looking for justice, they're fighting it, but there's so many obstacles to it.
Mm.
So I think what it is really about standing up to the old guard and to say, when is it that we are able to live in a society that is just and safe for everyone?
And how did you balance the intimate mother-daughter story with the larger commentary on justice, resistance, and systemic inequality?
Well, I think I really took it more from this kind of personal experience of the family, a very intimate look through this family. And
Mm.
so it was really about, what does it feel like as an individual, especially an individual that is so marginalized in society, to be up against such a big system that has so many barriers and restrictions to justice,
Yeah.
barriers and restrictions to dignity and to living with respect.
Yeah. And what creative choices shaped your portrayal of traditional beliefs like the, shamanic journey alongside modern realities?
Yeah, I mean, I think that for me, what's really important is also to um, kind of create a nuanced world, because a lot of times the old and the new are pitted against each other and polarized. But for me, there is a kind of, seamless um, transition that happens, and a kind of way in which we need to take some of the old and ancestral knowledge, but also we need to update some of the old systems that are very oppressive. And so what I wanted to do was not necessarily, just represent religion or spirituality as something negative, because actually that's something that's so deeply inherent in our culture. And
Yeah.
so there's a lot of richness around the mysticism, but also to say we need to question some of the traditions that, we've been blindly going along with for centuries.
Yeah. After such a long run at different global festivals, what conversations do you hope Shakti will spark across the region because it's reached wider audiences than it was intended for?
Yes. Well, I mean, I think with Western audiences, a lot of times there's a shock that this caste system even exists.
Mm.
And I think this is awareness that we need to build also, is that the caste system does still exist, and in fact, it is also sometimes transported into the diaspora. And so talking about it is something, this is one of the ways that we can dismantle, right, these systems that are very oppressive, because without the awareness and without talking about it, whether it's the taboo around, sexual violence or the caste system, both of those are kind of considered taboo topics. But for me, the conversation is really that people start talking about these things that are
Mm.
difficult, and they're not just swept under the rug, because so many times, even in the making of this film, many people came up to me and said, I will not touch this topic.
Mm.
And I was shocked, because these are people in the film industry. These are intellectuals who are telling me this. And then I realized that it's a global culture that we've created of
Yeah.
complicity. And this is why there's big, leaders in place who are abusers themselves, who are perpetrators themselves. And so we have to really create a culture where there's open dialogue, and we're able to talk about things that are both difficult, but also things that we can improve in our own communities and in our own lives.
Yeah. So, whenever you think of, filmmaking, is it that you're drawn to social issues like these? Or, I mean, is it a conscious decision to actually pick something as sensitive as this? Because, these are very touchy, people get very touchy about these issues, right? Did you
Yes,
have any
yes.
kind of fear in your mind when you actually, did you think, people will, you'll get this kind of response? I can see that it's very overwhelming for you right now because everybody's come up to you and told you what a great movie you've made. So did you expect this kind of response when you actually thought of making this movie? When you picked this
Um,
subject particularly?
Yeah. No, it's a great question. I mean, I think I've always been drawn to impact and socially conscious stories, because
Mm.
for me, it's like filmmaking and storytelling is a way in which we shape culture. And so, how do we do it, and how are we able to shape future, thought, and kind of create new mythologies for ourselves as societies, as human beings? Um, I didn't know how Shakti would be received. Honestly, I just had this very clear intention to make it, because there was a kind of, this shock and this calling for me to make it after I learned about the 35 days of statute of limitation.
Mhm.
And I think the rest is really up to people. And sometimes people can get very uncomfortable watching a
Yeah.
difficult film like this, but um, that's their experience. And in a way, I think for me, it's important to sometimes be feeling uncomfortable for us to face things and to make the change that we want to be in a more comfortable society, in a safer society.
Yeah, but I guess movies on such uncomfortable subjects are what become conversation starters, right? Like now it has become rightly.
Yes.
Yeah. So what next after this?
I have a couple of projects in development, and it's not fully like, yeah, kind of re announced or released yet, but one of the projects is set in the US, and another one is set in India.
Oh, in India. Okay.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
that will also be social theme based, or you don't want to reveal
Um,
it.
Yeah, there's some social aspect to it. I think for me, always there's like, certain
Some
things I'm
impactful
really drawn
stories.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely social themes, but also the spiritual experience, which I find it's like this, the individual and the social is very interesting for me to explore. But other than that, yeah, I can't reveal too much about that one yet.
I get it. So, did you have any kind of spiritual experience in India? Have you visited places in India?
I've been to India so many times because I'm from Nepal. Originally, I was born in Nepal, and
Okay.
so as a kid, we always went to India. And my mom is a huge Shiva Bhakta, and so we went to like Gangotri and
Oh,
yeah, many places.
Varanasi. Yeah.
Varanasi, yes, we've been to like Gujarat together and just like Goa and many other places in India we've traveled together. And so I feel very connected to India because culturally it's so similar to Nepal. And so I find that, we share that culture of spirituality.
Thank you so
Thank you so much,
much.
Rashmi.